Rapido's latest product launch, Ivor the Engine, is proving something of a coup. Since its unveiling, social media and model railway forums have been abuzz with chat about most everyone's childhood favourite, brought to life in model form. And online retailers have been ringing up the sales. I paid a visit to Rapido to meet the 21-year-old designer who transformed Ivor from a 2D watercolour to a working model, and have a chat with General Manager Andy Hardy. You've launched quite a few products this week, but one in particular, Ivor the Engine.
Ivor the Engine.
When I saw this, I just was absolutely delighted. A favourite of mine and, of course, so many people. Tell me about the process. When did you start thinking about launching this as a product?
It goes back probably 2 years. So obviously Titfield was a really good success for us, and we found out that there was a real market for railway-based models that aren't necessarily traditional. You know, who needs the Titfield Thunderbolt? The answer is not many people, but a lot of people want something like that, a nice box, a booklet, all those nice things. People really bought into that idea. So we looked at some other options. I had grown up with Ivor. I'd grown up with the books, VHS tapes, and we thought this is a really good idea. And obviously Ivor was created in Kent. Nice little bit of sort of close-knit stuff with us being based down in Staples. We're not far away from the original creator's workshop. So we approached Daniel Postgate, who is the son of Oliver Postgate. Daniel is the sole owner of Small Films, which is now the company that did produce it. And we approached him and said, look, we've done this with Titfield. What about doing it with Ivor? And the idea kind of spiraled. The original idea was maybe just to do Ivor and a couple of wagons. Talking with Daniel, it became really apparent that he is just as into the idea of a model railway version as I was. So the idea of using some of the original artwork came into it, 2D figures, then little building kits. The sound file was something he hadn't realised you could put in model trains, and of course hearing his actual dad's voice going psh-to-cop, psh-to-cop from the original audios is going to be really, really cool, and he really bought into that. And then I took a punt and said, would you fancy writing us a new story? Because he still writes stories and illustrates stuff. And of course he just went, yes. So this kind of whole thing was born, and the rolling stock pack fell out of it. And the more we talk to people that we kind of speak to in the industry, there's a few people we'll sound ideas out to. All of them kept saying, you know, this could be really big. And I didn't expect it to be quite as big as it was earlier this week. You know, we went live at 12 o'clock and I was going home with the phone still ringing, and it's been really good.
Rapido Trains UK is a young, dynamic team, and it was 21-year-old Jamie Patterson who was responsible for designing the Ivor the Engine model.
It was a really fun one. Obviously, turning something 2D into 3D was really interesting. It's interesting as well because there's no scale in Ivor. You know, they have multiple different cardboard cutouts for them, and so compared to the figures, even Ivor would change size, the figures would change size, all of the different wagons would change size, and it's been a real challenge to try and make something that's both true to the cartoon in that respect and that fits in with other rolling stock that people might have on their layouts. Obviously, it's a watercolor cartoon, so the blurred lines between what is a detail and what is just shading or that sort of thing has been really challenging and really enjoyable to try and translate some of that detail into 3D as well. Things like the splashes on the locomotive they've got this fancy embellishment on them, which we have decided to make 3D as a sort of a balance between what is painted on and what is physical detail. Because if we just went for making everything painted on as it is in the cartoon, we'd end up with quite a flat, boring model. Whereas with some more 3D detail that we sort of not imagined ourselves, but that we've chosen to represent in 3 dimensions, it lends itself quite well to making a slightly more detailed model. Obviously, it's not a highly detailed representation of a super accurate whatever class, but trying to balance that sort of detail that we're known for whilst also keeping it cartoony has been really fun.
In terms of, as you said, turning a 2D model, 2D animation into a 3D model, obviously you had to fill in a lot of gaps. Was there an element of a burden of responsibility to the Postgate legacy, if you like, to being true and faithful to the cartoon?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'd really like it to be as sort of accurate to the cartoon as possible, but there are some things that we had to compromise on. So, for example, Ivor in the cartoon doesn't have any cylinders on it, and where we fitted the coupling on the front, we've added a cosmetic cylinder front, because in the cartoon he's just sort of got funny valve gear stuff that would be almost impossible for us to represent. So, you know, examples like that show that we've sort of imagined stuff while keeping true to the source material, and we've been working closely with Mr. Postgate, who I'm really looking forward to meeting, so that we can, as you say, remain true to the legacy.
Ivor perhaps reflects our much wider love of all things nostalgia, especially when it comes to model trains.
No one needs Ivor, but lots of people saying, oh, I grew up with this, or I read it to my grandkids. RM Web has now got 10 pages of people all positively saying about an experience with Ivor. And it's always been in the background of people's heads as well. It's always been around. You know, the remastered DVD only came out last year. Books were published again a couple of years ago. They were published in the 90s, the 80s. There was the annuals in the 70s. They reran it on the TV in the 80s. So basically, since 1959, it's been there somewhere. And I didn't realise just how many people it's been in the back of their heads when we came out with it. It's been a really, really great success so far, and touch wood, it's going to continue to be. And it's really nice to see people embracing something that fundamentally is just good for your mental health.
Exactly, Andy. If you like this video, please do like, share and subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of all my future videos. And why not browse the shop at modelrailwayquest.com/shop. And to receive a 10% discount on everything in the shop, become a Questie. Join the Model Railway Quest membership to receive that discount and a whole bunch of perks and goodies. Details on how to join are above. I'm Dawn Quest, and this is Model Railway Quest.